Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of That Woman podcast and first episode of 2024. Hope everyone had a great Christmas and New Year's, and I hope everyone is also having a great start to the year 2024. Today's episode is a really special episode for a few reasons. The first reason is because it's my 10th episode on my podcast. And even though 10 is not a huge number, for me, it's a big milestone. So I'm happy to be sharing this episode with you. Another reason is because I just celebrated my birthday recently. I actually meant for this episode to go up the day of my birthday, December 29th. But of course, the week after Christmas is always so crazy and confusing. You're literally at that point where you no longer know what day it is. And you're living in some kind of weird twilight zone. So I did not get a chance to record this episode earlier, but here it is. I turned 36 years old, which sounds so crazy for me to even say out loud. I feel so blessed to have celebrated one more year of life. And I can't wait to share with you some of the reasons why I love getting older and why you should too. And finally, I will also be sharing a very exciting update with all of you at the end of this episode, which I'm sure some of you may already know if you follow me on Instagram. And if not, then make sure you wait to listen till the end of this episode. No cheating, because otherwise it's not fun if you just skip the episode. So I'm going to challenge you to not skip any parts. And since it's technically my birthday episode, I'm going to ask you all for a big favor. If you haven't already, I would love it if you could please subscribe and follow my podcast and also leave a quick review for me. It would mean so much to have your support, and it would be a great birthday gift as well. You can quickly press pause right now and do both of those things. It'll just take a couple of minutes. It may not seem like much, but believe me, it would be the greatest gift I could ever ask for. All right, so let's get started and jump right into the 7 reasons I love getting older. Hi, I'm Vanessa Torres, and welcome to my podcast. Over the years, I've navigated through the highs and lows of life, rebuilt my life alongside my husband and 2 daughters when we left beautiful British Columbia and had to start from scratch in search of a better life for our family. I've struggled to find my own identity outside of being a wife and a mother. And like me, there's so many of us that are trying to find our purpose, have a voice, and simply try to be the best versions of ourselves. Join me on this journey to discover and become that woman you can be proud of. We'll peel back the curtains and discuss topics on lifestyle, marriage, motherhood, walking in our faith, and what it takes to reach the other side of fear, and so much more. Think of me as your girl, having a glass of wine and deep diving on meaningful, raw, and unscripted conversations. This is the place where you can be fierce, bold, and unapologetic. This is That Woman podcast. Reason number 1 why I love getting older: you're not afraid to speak up. Now, I remember when I was a teenager, the type of speak up that teenagers do, it's definitely a little bit different. I would say it was more talking back more than speaking up. But as you get older, sometimes you navigate through those changes in identity. You're trying to figure out who you are, who you want to be, what you want to be when you grow up. And so a lot of the times we tend to be afraid and we don't speak our mind just because we are worried about how someone else is going to perceive us. I found that I definitely felt more of a shift when I turned 30. 30s, I feel like, was definitely that turnaround point for me, where the older I started getting, the more confident I felt to be able to speak what was on my mind. I definitely went through that phase of people pleasing where I would do things or say things to make others happy. And I really wanted to avoid that conflict or avoid anyone getting mad at me. And so I would never truly say what I thought. But now it's completely different. The older you get, you lose that fear and you end up finding your voice. It's one of the reasons why I started this podcast. It's because there was so much on my mind, so much on my heart that I've been wanting to share. I finally felt like I was in a place where I felt confident enough to be able to share those things and not be worried about what other people think. So not being afraid to ask for what you want, not being afraid to speak up, that's reason number one. Reason number two, which kind of ties in together with reason number one, you're more confident in yourself. As we grow, we begin to build more of that maturity, and that maturity also gives you confidence. And I mean in every aspect, not just so much in asking for what you want or saying what you want, but also I found when I was younger, I would doubt myself a lot and I had a lot more low self-esteem. I think a lot of us might be able to relate in that sense that when you're younger, because you don't have much life experience, you feel inadequate or you feel unprepared to be able to do a lot of the things that come your way. And I noticed this specifically when it came to speaking highly of myself or speaking positively about myself. I detested going to interviews because I dreaded that question where they ask you about your strengths. Tell me 3 strengths that you have, or tell me why we should hire you. I actually hated that question because I remember feeling like there was nothing that I could offer. That really started to change the older I got. I really started to lose that fear of not seeing the potential and the growth that I have within myself. Age definitely gives you a new perspective on what you are capable of doing. That also came with me becoming a mother, me becoming a wife. You go through all these natural changes and challenges that come with you entering a new chapter in your life. Once you've learned to overcome those hard times, you really look back and you're like, you know what? I'm a badass. Like looking back, it's almost like sometimes you don't even believe that you overcame something. You look back and you ask yourself, how did I even do that? Where did I find the courage? Where did I find the strength to be able to surpass certain situations? But again, that comes with the years and the experience, and you become your own cheerleader. And so I will definitely say having that confidence as you get older to really be able to value yourself and teach others around you how to value you as well. Okay, and reason number 3, you care less what others think. Well, let me tell you, this could not be more true for me. You really stop caring. I don't know what other way to explain it. Plain and simple, you really stop giving a crap about what other people think. As I mentioned earlier, when you're younger, your identity is tied to other people's opinions, and you care a lot about what other people are going to say or how they're going to see you. I mentioned in a past episode that I am an Enneagram 3, the achiever. And as the achiever, sometimes you care about what other people, well, not so much what they think, but how you are perceived, how you come across. And to a certain extent, sure, but at the same time, there's so much going on in your life that you really just don't care. And it's so liberating. I cannot tell you how liberating it feels to really not care what other people are saying about you or thinking about you. You're just a lot more sure of yourself. You're a lot more sure of the person that you are. And you don't need to justify your actions to anyone. Of course, as long as you are not hurting anyone, as long as you are not being rude to anyone. But number 3 is you care less what others think. Number 4, you gain more wisdom. The experiences in your life become your greatest teacher. No matter what you go through, the good, the bad, the ups and the downs, there is always a lesson to take away from any situation. And you really do become a lot more wise. I like to think of the analogy of going through your life as if you are climbing a mountain or climbing different peaks within a mountain. And once you have reached that first peak, which might seem like it took a very long time to get there. And you look back and you're like, wow, like I went through all of this. I really didn't think I could make it, but here I am. Now I'm going to keep looking forward. I'm going to climb the next peak. I'm going to climb the next mountain. And the more you keep looking back, the more you realize everything and all the lessons that you've overcome to get there. And so your perspective changes, your mind changes of how you view something or you view a certain situation. Another thing for me, which I felt really helped with give me a lot more wisdom, is definitely just also growing more spiritually and just being more aware of a higher power and making sure that any decision I make is with God in mind and God's will in mind, and just praying for wisdom. I mean, that is definitely something you can ask for, is to just ask God to give you more wisdom in your life, to be able to make the right decisions. That experience and that wisdom does not come easy. Unfortunately, we do have to learn the hard way a lot of the times. But like I said, looking at every situation, whether it's good or bad, and turning it around and taking something away from it. Okay, number 5. You're not afraid to say no. Going back to once being a people pleaser, we all know that this is something very much you do. You say yes to things that you really don't want to say yes to in order not to upset anyone. And sometimes you do it because you might feel like you have something to prove, but over time, it really is not worth the stress, the anxiety, and the unhappiness that you get from not being able to just say no. But the older that you get, again, it's all about finding that voice, finding that confidence, finding that wisdom. Everything is connected. And eventually you don't feel afraid to say no. I think personally for me, something that has really helped me overcome that fear of saying no or that fear of what others think is being in a leadership position, being in a leadership role. If you're not someone that has that interest, I would strongly recommend that you watch videos on YouTube on how to be a leader, leadership skills that you can learn, just because that's what I really feel has also helped me to be able to say no in certain situations. And the more you practice, it becomes, honestly, it becomes a lot more natural for you. And it comes from a place of honesty as well. And just keeping in mind that your mental health is a lot more important than appearances. So instead of saying yes because you're afraid of what others are going to think or how they're going to see you, just keep in mind that your happiness and your mental health is a lot more important. Reason number 6, your focus and priorities shift. So as you're growing up, I think it's safe to say that, we can be a little selfish when we're younger, simply because everything kind of revolves around ourselves, right? We think about maybe our job, or we think about, my friends or my me time or anything like that. It's usually more associated with yourself. That changes drastically the older you get, because your values are going to be very different than when you were young. So like I said before, it might have been your friends that you really cared about. It's my friends and I'm going to go out with them all the time. Or it's my work, or it's money, or whatever, fill in the blank. Now that I'm older, like I said, my values are completely centered around my faith and my family. And I've reached a point where I could care less about partying. I could care less about going out to a club or going dancing. To me, that is no longer appealing. And I would rather choose staying in at home, spending time with my family, than doing anything else. And for you, that might also look different. Maybe your value is self-care. You care a lot about being able to wind down and read a book before bed, just really taking care of your mind and your body. It could look like anything. It can look different for everyone, but that tends to happen the older you get, is where that focus and that priority will shift for you. And finally, reason number 7, you learn to embrace your failures. I really love this motivational speech from Denzel Washington, where he really talks in depth about failure and how failure is inevitable. No matter what you go through in your life, you will fail at some point, and we must accept it because we are not going to be good at everything. We're not going to have everything figured out. In fact, that's almost the point, I believe, of going through this transition from young to getting older. Every single season in your life, there's some type of failure that you're going to go through. You have to really look at it and embrace it, not be afraid of it. It's so important to reflect and understand what it is that you took away from every situation, because there's always a lesson learned. There's always something to take away from it. So rather than wasting an experience and considering yourself a failure, let's shift it around, right? That's another shift that you can do, is looking at failure differently. You can definitely turn those bitter memories into a reminder of triumph rather than looking at it specifically as something you did that failed. Because if you don't fail, that means that you're not even trying. I know that one is a little bit more tough to wrap our minds around sometimes, but I think it becomes a lot more clear the older you get. It's almost a natural part of the process where you actually learn to reflect and look back. And I don't want to say it's easier, but I think you just have more of the tools and more of the perspective that you need to be able to embrace those failures. To recap the 7 reasons I love getting older: number 1, you're not afraid to speak up. Number 2, you're more confident in yourself. Number 3, you care less what others think. Number 4, you gain more wisdom. Number 5, you're not afraid to say no. Number 6, your focus and priorities shift. And number 7, you learn to embrace your failures. Okay, at the beginning of this episode, I let you guys know that I would be sharing a very exciting update. And like I said, some of you may already know, but for those of you that don't, I am happy to share that I am currently expecting my 3rd baby. Yes, you heard that right. I am currently in my 2nd trimester, and I will be having a spring baby at the end of May. I honestly can't wait to share so much more with you as I begin another journey, another chapter in my life. It just has been so incredible in so many ways and very challenging in a lot of other ways as well. And I know you hear me say this often, but I just feel so incredibly grateful for everything going on. And like I said, even though this pregnancy hasn't been the easiest for me, I thank God every single day for this beautiful miracle of allowing me to become a mom once again. If you are also pregnant right now, or you're already a mom, or you're hoping and planning to become a mom soon, I want to invite you to come along and join me as I share more about this new and exciting update in my life. Thank you all again for your support. Hope you are having an incredible start to the new year. And as always, don't forget to strive to be that woman you can be proud of. See you all in the next episode.
We finished already? Where did the time go? If you want more, be sure to follow this podcast so you can receive new episodes right when they're released. I'm curious, what was your biggest takeaway from this episode? What resonated with you the most? I'd love for you to let me know by leaving a review. Reviews let this platform know that amazing listeners like you enjoy the show. You can also come hang out with me on Instagram at Miss Vanessa Torres or at that.womanpodcast. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week.